Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today I've got a first impressions video, and I'm only able to do this first impressions video because of a very kind gentleman by the name of Phil who sent this knife to me. So Phil, I'm going to take good care of your knife. I'll get it back to you as quick as I can. For now guys, and again, thank you very much for doing this because this is a really cool knife and I'm pretty excited to be able to handle this and to be able to share it with you guys on the channel. So down in the comments, maybe you should thank Phil as well. So here we go. This is the Giant Mouse GMP3. Unlike the standard GM3, this is a bronze handled knife, which is really different. And I've got to say, pretty impressive on, initial inspection, not what I'm used to seeing at all. I want to quickly share with you the packaging. We normally do this. I did take the knife out just to avoid any awkwardness, but it comes in this package. Initially, open that up, and inside there's a card and this box. Inside the box, you get this bag. Inside the bag, you get this packaging. And finally, inside of this packaging, you do get the knife. Now, I don't know why there are that many steps. I have a suspicion that maybe the knife ships to them in this, and then rather than take it out and put it in this, they just drop everything into this bag and put it together. But for whatever reason, it comes with a lot of packaging, and that's fine. So here is the knife itself, and I've got to say guys, this is a pretty attractive knife. Now, this is a little smaller than what I like to use or like to carry, and so I didn't buy one of these, and so once again, really appreciate being able to get my hands on one. All right, and of course, I really even appreciate more being that it is the bronze one. Okay, now the one thing is, and we'll talk about this, this is going to be heavier than the titanium, but it's not a huge knife anyway. So, if this was like the GM1 or the GM2, I think the bronze would have been completely outlandish. But in a fairly small knife like this, it's not gonna, it's small enough that even if you use a fairly heavy material, it's not going to be the end of the world. Let's go ahead though and quickly run through the features on this knife. You have this very nice drop point blade, satin finish in M390, really nicely crowned spine. I've got to say, the overall, just the choices they've made in terms of design and in terms of fit and finish are really good. Okay, I've got to give credit right away. And this is supposed to be a first impressions, and my initial impression is I'm pretty wowed by this knife. Okay, yes, it's still smaller than what I like to carry, but I've got to say this is a very cool piece. So blade M390, full flat ground. The nail nick here I don't love, but it's probably not the end of the world either. I'll have more to say about that in the review. Okay, and Phil, if you're watching this and you want to share with us, has this ever been a problem at all? Like, did you find yourself getting food caught in there? Did you find any issue with that nail nick? Let us know. I would be curious to hear that. So moving down onto the handle, of course, you have these bronze handle scales, which are really sharp. So they call them black washed bronze, and it's got, I got to say, this is a really nice finish. So, although I understand the titanium would be much lighter, I've got to say I really like this. And so, yeah, if you find yourself in a situation where you can get your hands on one of these, I would be tempted to go for the bronze, guys. I really would. Really nice blue anodized pivot ring there, blue back spacer, single position titanium clip that is also milled there. If you take a look at the front, you can see the way that they've done that liner is by milling it into the lock side. So very nicely done on there. And you can take a look there, see the detent ball. And I don't know, this knife feels like it has a detent ramp. So let me see if I can see whether or not it does. It kind of does. It's an interesting way of finishing this. So what they've done is they just, instead of making an actual detent ramp where it's like a line, all they've done is just put a nice little angle on the tang of that blade. And that's, I've got to give a lot of credit. Like, that's a very simple thing to do, just grind a little angle on there, but extremely effective. So really got to give some credit there to the folks over there at Giant Mouse Knives. That is well done. Okay, so there's the sort of overall rundown of the features, of the finishes, and I've got to say, in terms of an initial impression, this is an impressive knife. I'm really digging this guy. Again, in the long run, it would not be for me because of the weight and because of the small size, but wow, is really, this is an impressive knife, guys. Let's go ahead and find out what that weight actually is. Hopefully I've had enough sense to get this in ounces before we start. And there we go, and it's zeroed out. All right, so 4.89 ounces. 4.89 ounces for this fairly small knife. That is pretty heavy for a knife of this size, and let's find out exactly what that size is. We'll flip over to the handy dandy ruler and get that measurement next. So overall, this knife is 7 3/4 inches with a 3 5/16 inch blade, 3 5/16. So not a bad blade size for sure. And of course, 4 and just under 4.5 inch handle on this knife. So pretty small knife for nearly 5 ounces. Now, the first thing I have to say about this is, if this were just a little bigger, if this was an 8.5 inch knife, I would have been all over this thing because I love the design. I love the blade shape. I think the sort of the lines on this and the overall theme is an absolute total win. Okay. At least, my first impression is that the ergonomics, again, feel pretty good. And I'll obviously have more to say about that in the full review. But what are my initial impressions on this knife? My initial impression is this is a really cool piece, okay? As a carry knife, as a user knife, I think the bronze is less than practical. However, as an enthusiast and a bit of a collector, I absolutely love it, okay? So the two sides of my, knife interest are kind of in a fight over what to think about this knife. So I've got to say, yeah, I love the bronze, but I also feel like it's definitely too heavy for its size. All right. In terms of design, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And in terms of purpose, this is just a really nice gentleman / EDC folder. I wouldn't call this really a tactical knife. I wouldn't call it hard use. I think it's just a really nice either collector piece or gentleman's piece that you're going to carry, on those days when you're not going to be going too crazy. Now, the only drawback to that, and again, this is why I keep coming back to this, very, very hefty little guy. So you throw this in a pair of dress pants and I think it's going to feel like, you have a brick in your pocket. But that does remain to be seen. I will carry this a little bit and give you guys a better sense for that when I get to the full review. Again, thanks a lot for sending this to me for review. I'm absolutely impressed by this and very, very grateful for the opportunity to check it out. That's all I've got for you. We'll make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss the full review, and we will talk to you soon.